Hello again, and welcome back to my channel where we are reading the Bible in a year. We are reading the entire Bible in a year. And again, I'm going through the lesson. We're on day 66 and going through the lesson, but I have not written any notes, but I may jot things down just so I can keep them in my head or stop right there, because I think it's just faster for me to just jot them down and then come back to it when I'm done with the whole lesson. But knowing me, I'm gonna do things my own way eventually, you know. So anyway, we're in Matthew. We're finishing out chapter 11, starting at verse 20 and to the end, and then Leviticus 13, and then Proverbs 25 for day 66. All right, so 11, we're finishing out, starting with verse 20. Woes to unrepentant cities. Then he began to reproach the city in which most of his deeds of power had been done, because they did not repent. Woe to you, Chorazin. Woe to you, Bethsaida. For if the deeds of power done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes. But I tell you, on the day of judgment, it will be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon than for you. And you, Capernaum, will you be exalted to heaven? No, you will be brought down to Hades. For if the deeds of power done in you had been done in Sodom, it would have remained until this day. But I tell you that on the day of judgment, it will be more tolerable for the land of Sodom than for you. Trying to write things down. Okay. Jesus thanks his Father. At the time, Jesus said, "Thank you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because you have hidden these things from the wise and the intelligent, have revealed them to infants. Yes, Father, for such was your gracious will, and all things have been handed over to me by my Father. And no one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and anyone whom the Son chooses to reveal him. Come to me, all that are weary and are carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart. And if you find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." All right, so Jesus, he's getting on these three cities, Chorazin, woe to you, Bethsaida, and somewhere in there, Capernaum. So basically what he's saying is, for the deeds of power done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented a long time ago. I'm just gonna say it in my secular head, like I would have been like, look, I wasted this on y'all and I could have did this over there and they would have got it. I'm not sure if he's saying that those two cities are more. Sometimes when you say that something is worse than, but they would have got it, like sometimes when I say when, you know, I'd be like, Carter would have been, you know, a better person in charge than this person. So you get what I'm saying? So these people probably in Tyre and Sidon might have been worse off than them, but they would have got it. Come on now, they would have got it. I don't know if that's what that means or not. Like I said, I wish I had done some research. But anyway, but he's saying, woe to you, I have done miracles there and y'all still didn't get it, and y'all still aren't crossing over to be one of my followers or, you know, believe in me. So, and they even now saw the works of Jesus. And, you know, you didn't get it. Okay, so yeah. So I'm assuming that Tyre and Sidon are probably far worse than them, but these people didn't get it. And I came to you guys because, you know, of XYZ, and y'all didn't get it. You know, I could have went over there. So basically he's saying, like, by you not believing, you're going to face judgment, you know, and all that. So now he's saying like people who are, you know, he thanks his Father. If anyone knows the Father except the Son, and anyone whom the Son chooses to reveal him, you know, come to me, all of you that are weary, come to and with heavy burdens, come to me and rest. I found in him a resting place, and he has made me blessed. I just thought about that song right there. But yeah, he's inviting them to come. That's his invitation. Those of you who are weary and burdened and troubled, come to me and rest. Not physical rest, but spiritual rest. Bring everything to me. Learn from me. Be like me. Be gentle and humble, you know, is what he's saying. Come and follow me, basically, he reminds us. All right, I'm going to move on because I don't want to run out of time. Yeah, definitely need to hurry up. Okay, so we're going to go back to, I'm glad this is a short one, Leviticus 13. I think, yeah. No, 13 is a long chapter. Okay. So the Lord spoke to Moses. So he's talking about leprosy, the varieties and symptoms. Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron saying, when a person has on the skin of his body a swelling or eruption or a spot, it turns into a leprous disease on the skin of his body. He shall be brought to Aaron the priest or to one of the sons of the priest. The priest shall examine the disease on the skin of his body. And if the hair in the disease area has turned white and the disease appears to be deeper than the skin of his body, it is a leprous disease. After the priest has examined him, he shall be pronounce him to ceremonially unclean. But if the spot is white on the skin of his body and appears no deeper than the skin and the hair on it has not turned white, the priest shall confine the diseased person for 7 days. The priest shall examine him on the 7th day, and if he sees the disease is checked, and the disease is not spread on the skin, then the priest shall confine him 7 days more. If the priest shall examine him again on the 7th day and the disease is abated and the disease has not spread on the skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is only an eruption, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if the eruption spreads on the skin after he has shown himself to the priest for his cleansing, it shall appear again before the priest. The priest shall make an examination, and the eruption has spread in the skin, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous disease. When a person contracts a leprous disease, he shall be brought to the priest. The priest shall make an examination, and there is a white swelling on the skin that has turned the hair white, and there is quick raw flesh in the swelling. It is a chronic leprous disease in the skin of his body, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean. He shall not confine him, for he is unclean. But if the disease breaks out on the skin so that it covers all the skin of the disease of the person from head to foot, so far as the priest can see, then the priest shall make an examination. If the disease cover all his body, he shall pronounce him clean of the disease. Since it has all turned white, he is clean. But if the flesh appears on him, wait a minute. Okay, he said, then if the priest shall make an examination and the disease has covered all his body, he shall pronounce him clean of the disease. Since he has all turned white, he is clean. But if raw flesh appears on him, he shall be unclean. Also, an open wound means that he can spread it. The priest shall examine the raw flesh and pronounce him unclean. Raw flesh is clean, for it is leprous disease. But if the raw flesh again turns white, he shall come to the priest, and the priest shall examine him. If the disease has turned white, the priest shall pronounce the diseased person clean. He is clean. When there is on the skin of one's body a boil has healed, in the place of the boil there appears to be white swelling or reddish spot, it shall be shown to the police. The priest shall make an examination. If it appears deeper than the skin on his head and his hair turn white, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. This is a leprous disease broken out in a boil. But the priest examines it, and the hair is not white, nor is deeper than the skin, has abated, the priest has confined him 7 days, and it spreads in the skin, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is disease, but if the spot remains in one place and does not spread, it is a scar of a boil, the priest shall pronounce him clean. Or when the body has a burn on the skin, and the raw flesh of the burn becomes a spot, reddish, white, or white. The priest shall examine it. If the hair on the spot has turned white, it appears deeper than the skin, it is leprous disease. It is broken out in the burn, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean. This is leprous disease. But if the priest examines it and the hair on the spot is not white, it is no deeper than the skin, it has not abated, and the priest shall confine him 7 days. The priest shall examine him the 7th day. If it is spreading on the skin, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. This is a leprous disease, but if the spot remains in one place and does not spread on the skin, but has abated, it is a swelling from the burn, and the priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is a scar of the burn. When the man or woman has a disease on the head or in the beard, the priest shall examine the disease. It appears deeper than the skin, and the hair is yellow and thin. The priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is an itch, a leprous disease of the head or the beard. If the priest examines the itching disease and it appears no deeper than the skin, and there is no black hair in it, the priest shall confine the person with the itching disease for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest shall examine the itch. I'm guessing they're talking about lice. If the itch has not spread, there is no yellow hair in it, and the itch appears to be no deeper than the skin. I don't know what disease it's about. There's no yellow hair. He shall shave, but the itch he shall not shave. I don't know. I'm thinking they're talking about, I don't know. The priest shall confine the person with the itch for 7 more days. On the 7th day, the priest shall examine the itch. If the itch has not spread in the skin and appears to be no deeper than the skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean. He shall wash his clothes and be clean, but the itch spreads in the skin after he pronounced clean. The priest shall examine him. If the itch has spread in the skin, the priest shall need not seek for yellow hair. He is unclean. But in his eyes, the itch is checked, the black hair has grown in it, the itch is healed. He is healed, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. If in his eyes the itch is checked. When a man or woman has spots on the skin of the body, white spots, the priest shall make an examination of spots on the skin of the body, or dull white, it is a rash that is broken out in the skin. He is clean. If anyone loses hair from his head, he is bald, but he is clean. If he loses hair from his forehead and temples, he has baldness of the forehead, but he is clean. If there is on the bald head or bald forehead a reddish white disease spot, it is leprous disease breaking out on his bald head or his bald forehead. The priest shall examine him. The disease is spreading is reddish white on his bald head or his bald forehead, which resembles a leprous disease in the skin of the body. He is leprous. He is unclean. The priest shall pronounce him unclean, and the disease is on his head. The person who has a leprous disease shall wear torn clothes and let the hair of his head be disheveled, and he can cover his upper lip and cry out, unclean, unclean. He shall remain unclean as long as he has the disease. He is unclean. He shall live alone. His dwelling shall be outside the camp. Concerning clothing, when a leprous disease appears in it, in the woolen or linen cloth, a warp or woof of linen or wool, or in the skin, or anything made of skin, if the disease shows greenish or reddish on the garment, whether wrap or woof in the skin, or anything made of the skin, is leprous disease, and should be shown to the priest. The priest shall examine the disease and put the disease article aside for 7 days. He shall examine the disease on the 7th day, and the disease is spread in the cloth or wool or in the skin, whatever be the use of the skin. This is spreading leprous disease. It is unclean. He shall burn the clothing, whether disease in the warp or woof, woolen or linen or anything of the skin. It is spreading leprous disease. It shall be burned in fire. If the priest makes an examination to the disease and the disease has not spread in the clothing, warp, woof, or anything in warp or woof or anything else, the priest shall command them to wash the article which the disease appears. He shall put it aside 7 days. The priest shall examine the disease article until it has been washed. The disease spot has not changed color. Though the disease has not spread, it is unclean. You shall burn it in fire, with a leper spot inside or outside. The priest makes an examination, and the disease has abated. After it is washed, he shall tear the spot out of the cloth, warp, woof, or out of the skin. It appears again in the garment, or warp, woof, or anything in the skin. It is spreading. You shall burn it with fire in which the disease appears. But the cloth, warp, or woof, or anything from the skin, from which the disease appears, when you have washed it, it shall be washed a second time, and it shall be clean. This is the ritual for a leprous disease in cloth, wool or linen, or anything warp or woof. or anything of the skin to decide whether it's clean and unclean. That is self-explanatory. Again, these people don't know what to do with that. We can't cure it. You can stand over there. You got open wounds. You can spread disease. Go on over there. All right. So that. So just telling them what to do. I forgot what part it was I was laughing at. Oh, it's about a bald head. Honey, the man just bald. He ain't got a disease. He just going bald. He getting old. That's funny to me. So, Proverbs 25. These further wise sayings of Solomon. These are other Proverbs of Solomon that the officials of King Hezekiah of Judah copied. It is the glory of God to conceal things, but the glory of kings is to search things out, like the heavens for height, like the earth for depth. So the mind of kings is unsearchable. Take away the dross from the silver, and the smith has material for a vessel. Take away the wicked from the presence of the king, and his throne will be established in righteousness. Do not put yourself forward in the king's presence or stand in the place of the great. For it is better to be told, come up here, than to be put lower in the presence of the noble. What your eyes have seen, do not hastily bring into court. For what will you do in the end when your neighbor puts you to shame? Argue your case with your neighbor directly and do not disclose another secret. Okay, yeah, don't go and talk about your neighbor before you take it to them. Or else someone who hears you will bring shame upon you. They're going to go and tell them. And your ill repute will have no end. Create more problems. A word fitly spoken is like apples of golden in a settling of silver. Like a gold ring or ornament of gold is a wise rebuke to a listening ear. Like the cold of snow in the time of harvest are faithful messengers to those who send them. They refresh the spirit of their masters. Like clouds and wind without rain is one who boasts of gift never given. With patience a ruler may be persuaded, and a soft tongue can break bones. If you have found honey, eat only enough for you, or else having too much you will vomit it. Let your foot be seldom in your neighbor's house, otherwise the neighbor will become weary of you and hate you. Like a war club, a sword, or a sharp arrow is one who bears false witness against a neighbor. Like a bad tooth or a lame foot is trust in faithless person in time of trouble. Like vinegar on a wound is one who sings songs to a heavy heart. Like a moth in clothing or warm in wood, sorrow gnaws at the human heart. If your enemies are hungry, give them bread to eat, and if they are thirsty, give them water to drink. For you will heap coals of fire on their heads, and the Lord will reward you. The north wind produces rain, and a backbiting tongue, angry looks. It is better to live in a corner of the housetop than the house shared with a contentious wife. Like cold water to a thirsty soul, so is good news from a far country. Like a muddy spring or a polluted fountain are righteous who give way before the wicked. It is not good to eat much honey or to seek honor on top of honor. Like a city breach without walls is one who lacks self-control. Okay. And I just basically pointed out what stuck out to me about the neighbor, like going and talking about someone, if they did you dirty or whatever, before, going to that, going to that person first, it's only going to create more problems. Because guess what? Somebody's going to tell them, what's done in the dark or said in the dark. If your enemies are hungry, give them bread. Like, they might be your enemies, but at the same time, don't let anybody go hungry. I always say that too. I was like, I might not do you, but I'm going to still pick you up on the side of the road. And when I say don't do you, that doesn't mean that I hate you or anything. I'm just going to stand back because you're my enemy. I'm not your enemy. That's a good thought. I like that. So, now that's a good thought. I might have to put that on a t-shirt. Yeah. So, yeah, but that's all I wanted to point out there. All right, that ends today's reading, and I pray that you have received the word, you take heed to the word, and until tomorrow for day 66, I believe, today, day 67, until we catch up, be blessed and farewell.